Hi friends! Replacing sugar should be guilt-free. Let's talk about 10 of my favorites that will squash your appetite, satisfy your craving, and help you detox. You don't just want to eat a spoonful of sugar, or maybe you want to chew on this. Do you know what this is? This plant contains the most addictive ingredient that everybody on this planet is eating when they go to a supermarket. I'll let you think about it. You know, when you eat sugar, you're probably after texture and flavor. So number one, why not start your day with a delicious antioxidant smoothie? Look at this color. This literally took me less than 5 minutes to make. Let me show you how to do it. So in this mason jar, I have about a cup of dinosaur kale and about a cup of blueberries, a cup of strawberries, and a cup of cherries. So I fill this bottom up with soy milk, and then I just take my blender and blend it. It takes me about 5 minutes to wash this and blend it. Let's go. I believe that was less than 5 minutes, and I made a wonderful smoothie that I'm going to share with my family. But if you're after a chewier texture, why not try a frozen strawberry? So number two, eat strawberries, America's #1 berry. And who can resist them? They are flavorful, fragrant, sweet, and they can help you reduce precancerous lesions in your esophagus. Will your candy bar do that? I don't think so. Not even strawberry flavored ones, because most of that strawberry flavor is from artificial chemicals. They don't even put real strawberries. A lot of people have expressed concern that strawberries are on the dirty dozen list, so they won't eat them because it's full of pesticides. Now, I once went to a restaurant to eat with my friend, and she ordered some chicken wings with French fries. I ordered some fruit. She wouldn't eat the strawberries because she thought that strawberries were full of pesticides because they're unhealthy. Do you really think that eating chicken wings and French fries are healthier than eating strawberries just because they're not directly sprayed with pesticides? What do you think your chicken's eating? Really, unless you're sniffing and spraying the pesticide or picking freshly sprayed plants with pesticide where you're getting it on your skin and clothes like farmers and farm workers, the harmful effects of pesticide residue hasn't been clearly demonstrated in normal people who just eat from the supermarket. And that's why people still use them and they sell us produce with pesticides. Now, personally, I buy organic because I don't trust that. And I have a local farmer who supplies me my strawberries. But if I had to buy strawberries, I would rather eat conventional strawberries than food contaminated with bacteria. Did you know that eating homemade chicken is directly correlated with causing E. coli urinary tract infections? All chicken have a ton of poopy bacteria because apparently after they pluck the feathers off, they dip the chicken in a bath of dirty water. That bath water is full of bacteria. So bringing home a conventional strawberry is so much better than an organic or kosher chicken, even if you don't eat the chicken. And I would rather eat that conventional strawberry, soak them for 15 minutes in a 1% baking soda solution to remove the pesticides, and then rinse them with clean water. However, if you did that with your chicken, you would basically be splattering chicken poop all over your kitchen. So never rinse your chicken in your kitchen sink. Otherwise, it'll be dirtier than your toilet. That's because most people clean their toilet, but they don't clean their kitchen sink. Now, if you look at Martha Stewart's website, it says to just simply rinse strawberries with cold water. But we all know that doesn't actually get rid of a lot of the germs or the dirt if it's caked on, and it doesn't get rid of the pesticides. But they do have other options. Now, I will usually scrub my strawberries a little bit, but if it's too ripe, then it's not scrubbable. Her website also suggests distilled white vinegar, which removes mold spores, potentially keeping them fresher longer. I do that, and it does work. I actually rinse a lot of my fruits and vegetables with vinegar, especially the ones that go bad quickly. So I'll just have a bowl of vinegar that I wash multiple fruits, so in this way, I don't have to keep buying vinegar. Now, number 3 are fresh or frozen cherries. Now, the red Montemosseri cherries are rich in anthocyanins and antioxidants. They are super sweet, despite having 13 grams of sugar per cup of cherries. Cherries have been shown to reduce inflammation and lower uric acid, unlike drinking sweet coffee beverages or eating that ice cream. And it turns out when you eat table sugar in that cookie or cake, you actually make more uric acid, which induces inflammation. And if you've ever had gout, you know you have inflammation. Gout is a metabolism problem. You have a problem breaking down uric acid, which is a normal waste molecule created when your body breaks down purines, which are substances found naturally in the body and in certain foods, such such as red meat, seafood, and alcohol. The more cells your food has, the more purines it has. And this is because purines make DNA and RNA. DNA are your genes, and RNA are the messengers that translates your DNA genes. And when your body breaks them apart, they get broken down into purines by your liver, into uric acid. This is a part of metabolism. So for those of you who don't like to get RNA shots, well, you're getting an RNA shot every time you eat animals and plants. Orally. You just get more of them when you eat whole animals because you're literally eating their cells. I saw a video once of a person eating a fish that was still alive.
What is going on, dude? What is going on?
No, I won't eat that.
Now, there's a lot of things wrong with eating a fish that's still flopping. And number one, it has a bunch of bones in it. And all those bones will puncture your digestive tract. It's just a matter of time. And if you're used to swallowing the bones with the small fish, well, I suggest you watch out because it just takes one fish bone to become a nidus in your intestines and you can get a pretty bad abdominal abscess. Uric acid is actually water soluble. So after you break it apart, it can be filtered out by your kidneys with your urine. Now, have you ever made a sugar crystal at home? To make a sugar crystal, you have to supersaturate a sugary solution, and then you put a little bit of a sugar crystal as a nidus to start forming a giant rock crystal, right? That's how rock candy is made. This is the same with uric acid in your body. So if you have a problem with excretion of uric acid, your blood becomes a supersaturated solution of uric acid. And then you just have one nidus and it forms into tiny crystals. And crystals don't belong in your body. And uric acid crystals are exceptionally needly. Now imagine squeezing a bunch of sewing needles in your hands. Ouch! You're going to be stabbing your hands. It's going to be really bloody and painful, right? Well, this is your kidneys, and this is why you can have bloody urine called hematuria. And your kidneys will struggle to remove those sharp crystals, which then allows more uric acid to accumulate in your bloodstream, perpetuating the supersaturated solution. This is called hyperuricemia. Of course, we're all different. Some people naturally produce more uric acid or have suffered damage to their kidneys, which can lead to hyperuricemia. Obesity, kidney disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes can also increase the risk of collecting uric acid crystals because all of these conditions, they damage your kidneys, and the longer you have these conditions, the more damage the kidneys have suffered. Unfortunately, you don't know your kidneys are damaged until you challenge yourself with high purine foods. For example, red meat or shellfish, sugary beverages, and alcohols. To me, those foods sound like party foods, right? Party foods will raise your uric acid levels. And the faster you metabolize those party foods, the faster your liver breaks them down into uric acid. So if you're going to be drinking soda, pure sucrose or fructose, it's quickly broken down in the liver. And this rapid breakdown process uses up cellular energy called ATP and produces several byproducts, including adenosine monophosphate, AMP, which ultimately leads to the formation of more uric acid. This is because of fructose. So the more fructose and concentration that you consume in the form of sodas and candies and desserts, the more you drink and eat, the higher your uric acid. Over time, high processed sugar can contribute to insulin resistance, which affects your kidney function even more. Insulin resistance reduces a kidney's ability to excrete uric acid. Therefore, you get higher levels in your bloodstream, and then it collects in cooler areas because it precipitates. Your joints are cool areas, so it goes in your joint first, especially the first toe. And the crystals are super painful because they are sharp needle-like structures. They will irritate and permanently destroy tissue. Now, incorporating red bean cherries about 45 a day can actually help reduce gouty flares. Now, the red color indicates that cherry has anthocyanins. Unlike most fruits where just the outside is red like an apple, the cherry is red throughout the fruit. Anthocyanins can reduce inflammation, including C-reactive protein associated with gout, potentially alleviating pain and swelling in affected joints. And cherry phytonutrients, they help to reduce oxidative stress. Hence, some people carry around tart cherry juice, which has been shown to help reduce uric acid levels in the blood. And regular consumption of tart cherry juice is so much better to keep your uric acid levels low, to reduce the frequency and severity of gouty attacks. However, if you're not going to change the bulk of your meals and still stuff your meals with purine-rich foods, then really it may not work so well. And I eat cherries every day, not because I have gout, but it's because they are super sweet. And I add them to my shakes to sweeten it a little bit more for my family. I buy them fresh when they're in season, but I get them frozen in the winter. But if you can't find either, canned cherries actually also work. Since the 1950s, it's been known that eating cherries from a can over 2 days can reduce gouty attacks by 35%. So number 4 are frozen blueberries. And honestly, I prefer to eat them over fresh because they consistently taste sweeter. I buy a bag of wild blueberries every week. And today, I started my morning doing Pilates. I was bending and twisting in so many ways that I really didn't know that I could. So I'm going to do extra blueberries because I don't want to be sore tomorrow.
Hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
Blueberries have been proven to mitigate muscle damage, especially after a workout. And berries in general are great for your metabolism and for your gut microbiome. And if you left this shake in the refrigerator overnight, it's going to solidify. Do you know why? It's because it's full of soluble fiber. Remember, I blended a ton of berries. So when you feed your gut microbiome soluble fiber, they get happy. And then in turn, they make happy molecules like serotonin and butyrate that propels your GI tract to detox, basically to poop. And this is why eating fruit will help you detox on a daily basis. Your own poop is actually quite toxic. That's why your body's trying to get rid of it. And hence, when people don't have a normal liver, we make them poop a lot. Otherwise, they just reabsorb their toxins like ammonia and then makes their brain confused or go to sleep. And that's not a good thing. And the reason why you can eat all these foods so far guilt-free is because all of them have anti-inflammatory, antioxidant power that most of your processed foods do not. You'll be hard-pressed to find a food that has more anti-inflammatory, antioxidant power than berries. And this is very different than eating a spoonful of white sugar or a slab of meat. By the way, where do you think your sugar comes from? It comes from sugarcane. That's what this is. This looks nothing like white granulated sugar, right? This is because this is the whole food. And they just take a chemical purified from sugarcane. But if you chew this sugarcane, I mean, look at it. You think this is easy to chew? It's literally made out of wood pulp. Listen. Pretty hard, right? This is all cellulose. So my son was in the mood of something sweet. So he took a segment of this and started chewing on it. Look at the outside. It's full of polyphenols. That's why it's purple. So if you were to actually juice it, you would get a fragrant, sweet, flavorful juice which tastes nothing like just putting table sugar in water. Now, if you've never tried sugarcane, it's probably worth trying once in your life. It actually has health benefits unlike table sugar. First of all, sugarcane has potassium, magnesium, and calcium and iron. Your table sugar does not have that. And in addition, this purple color has flavonols. It also has a ton of fiber. So if you actually chewed on this, I mean, look at it. Does this look like it's easy to chew? Your jaw is going to get tired if you don't break your teeth. And if you were able to swallow this, well, that would just give you more fiber to poop. Imagine if you put this in your cookies and cakes. That would really elevate the nutritional quantity of those foods. Sugarcane has anti-inflammatory polyphenols that have been demonstrated in cell cultures to have anti-cancer effects, as opposed to your box of table sugar, which supposedly is pure cane sugar. America eats 70 pounds of that chemical every year, and it contributes to triglycerides, blood sugars, obesity, cavities, diabetes, high blood pressure, gout. That is a chemical, folks. Do not confuse that with all natural whole foods. This is a pure sugar cane. And people around the world have confused a highly processed refined chemical called table sugar with the real food. They're absolutely different. So if you did get a sweet attack and you chewed some of this, well, I'm sure that your sweet attack would probably go away quite quickly. And it would be guilt-free because you'll barely be able to do it. Now, if you wanted to buy this, go to your local Asian supermarket. I think everybody should try what a real sugarcane tastes like, so then they will know that that's not what they're eating when they're eating sugar. This is all natural, not your pure cane sugar. And by the way, molasses is not a health food. Blackstrap molasses contain high amounts of a chemical called acrylamide, which is known to be a carcinogen. Acrylamide is a chemical compound that forms when you combine sugars and amino acids. They react under high heat. This process is known as a Maillard reaction. This gives baked and fried foods their brown, crispy texture. The color black or brown is not healthy when your food isn't originally that color. So when you caramelize your sugars, you're basically heating it up to do the Maillard reaction in your kitchen. So when you buy blackstrap molasses, there's literally a cancer warning label behind it. Why would you eat that? If you wanted the benefits of polyphenols, go buy sugarcane and work on that. Personally, when I want something chewy, I go for something just a little bit softer. I go for this, dried mangoes. This is my favorite dry food. This dried mango has no preservatives, there's no sulfites, there's no added sugar. It's simply dehydrated mango. This gives me that chewy texture, almost like eating something that's gummified. But it's not gummified, it's so much better because there's actually fiber in this bag of mangoes. This is also full of vitamins like vitamin A, C, E, and K, and B6. It has minerals like potassium, magnesium, copper, and manganese. And of course, it has antioxidants like lutein, zeaxanthin, and beta-carotene. This is actually my third bag. I bought this maybe 3 months ago. The more mango people eat, the healthier people get. So whenever I feel like something to chew on, I reach for my mangoes. Now, I grew up eating a lot of tropical foods. My mom tried her very best to expose me to as many variety of foods as she could. This is one of my most favorite foods to eat. But I didn't learn about this tropical fruit until I was older. This is a mangosteen. So I already opened this, and what you do is you squeeze it and then the shell breaks up, and look at this. There's little tiny segments here that's succulent and juicy. Oh, it tastes so good. I have to just try one. So it has a seed inside, and you're supposed to spit the seed out. Someone commented that I should only show fruits that are commonly found in stores. Well, I commonly found mangosteen in Asian supermarkets. In fact, there's a plethora of different tropical fruits. But I'm also beginning to see them in American supermarkets. And I found something that I've never tried before. Freeze-dried mangosteens. They look kind of like the little mangosteens, right? Like the one I have here. Similar, except that this is freeze-dried. Let me try one. It's really good. That just hit the spot. Tastes like candy to me. Let's see. There's nothing in here but mangosteen. Freeze-dried fruits in general preserve the antioxidants, and mangosteens are rich in antioxidants that can actually reduce inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein. The major antioxidants in mangosteen are xanthones, which peak in your blood at about an hour to 6 hours after you eat it, but can last as long as 24 hours. I forgot to show you. This is my favorite fruit as a child, but I honestly ate it only canned as a child because they didn't have fresh ones. But now I only eat the fresh ones because the canned ones are full of sugar. This is a lychee. Look how spiny that is. It is super sweet. It's a unique tropical fruit punch flavor. It is rich in vitamin C, fiber, and antioxidants. And here's how you open it. You just kind of squeeze this too. It pops open. Whoops, you hear that? And there is a flesh. So you can, of course, eat this as is, or you can put it in smoothies or on top of like your yogurt or your grains, like a bowl of oatmeal. Lychees in general actually can reduce your blood sugars because it inhibits your liver's ability to make its own sugar. Now, this sounds good, but it's really not. And this is because your liver is your brain's backup supply of sugar. And when you don't eat any sugar, your brain still needs a supply of sugar. It's kind of like when the power grid goes out, your hospitals have to have a backup generator, or people dependent upon that electricity on a ventilator won't make it. So no matter what your diet, the job of your liver is to make glucose when you're not eating. And without a normal blood sugar level 24/7, you can actually pass out and have a seizure. So lychee should not be eaten by children on an empty stomach. This is because lychee contains a compound called methylene cyclopropylglycine, also known as hypoglycine, and it's actually a liver toxin. For most people who eat lychee, this isn't a problem. But if you're a malnourished child and just eating lychee on an empty stomach, that actually can be fatal. Unfortunately, thousands of children passed away in Vietnam and India, and that's how the world figured this out. Children would have nightmare encephalitis during lychee harvesting times. Basically, kids would stuff their empty tummies with lychee, but they wouldn't wake up the next morning due to low blood sugars. Now, naturally, people just assumed it was an infectious disease until they noticed similar episodes in people in Jamaica. They got a vomiting sickness from eating an unripe ackee fruit, which also has hypoglycemia. And it turns out lychee and ackee belong to the same soapberry family. And so to solve the problem, the governments didn't ban lychee. They just warned parents to make sure all the kids went to bed with a meal. And they restricted the amount of lychees kids would eat. So adults can eat about 200 fresh lychees or 10 cans of lychees. That's a lot of lychee peeling. I don't think I can eat that much. And by the way, heat does not remove the hypoglycemia. I still will eat the lychee, but I always make sure that I never eat it on an empty stomach or right before bed. Now, number 9 is this superfood. This is a fruit I grew up with. My parents loved eating this. You see what this is? These are jujube dates. This actually has a fragrance, very different from the common dates that you find in the supermarket, the medjool dates. These are a type of Asian red dates. They have a unique fragrance, and the fresh ones are kind of crunchy like an apple. Dried jujube dates are an ancient food consumed for over 4,000 years. And these dates have been used in traditional Chinese cooking and in Chinese medicine. Now, the best tea I've ever drank was on a plane ride to Asia. It was a black tea brewed with jujube dates and chrysanthemum flowers. It was so deliciously fragrant with just a hint of sweetness. And that's a thing. Blended drinks don't have to always be loaded with tons of fat and sugar. If you combine the right fragrances in the right foods, your drink can be deliciously satisfying, fill your brain cravings, and not be metabolically harmful. Now, in Chinese medicine, jujube dates have been used as a remedy for sleep and to calm mood for hundreds of years. Hence, the right food is more powerful to improve your mood or subdue your sugar cravings. And the rest is just beginning to realize what the East has been practicing for thousands of generations. Now, jujube dates have unique phenollytic antioxidant compounds that are 2 to 5 times the amount present in cherries. Phenollytic compounds help the body reduce DNA damage, inflammation, and even obesity. Jujube dates inhibit human cervical and breast cancer cells in a petri dish. And unfortunately, clinical trials have yet to begin, but I still eat them anyway. There are several ways to consume jujube dates. You can either cut this up and add it to hot water, so drink it like a broth or a tea. You can cook this with your oatmeal, or you can just eat it as is. But inside there's a pit, so you have to make sure that you don't break your teeth. It's really hard. And dates in general are a great sweetener for foods. So for me, when a recipe calls for sugar, I just basically grab some dates and I blend it. And one of my favorite ways to eat dates is to combine them with beans. If you open up a can of black beans, rinse them, and then you put 5 to 10 seedless medjool dates with them, blend that with your favorite frozen berry, you'll get a delicious high fiber pudding. And if you put that in the freezer and then blend it again right before you eat it, that'll be a delicious ice cream. Now keep in mind, date syrup are not like dates. It's like drinking concentrated apple juice or orange juice. Does that sound like an apple or orange to you? It's not as healthy as the actual food. However, if you really wanted to sprinkle something sweet to your coffee or desserts, try number 10, powdered whole dates. I want to show you what a powdered whole date looks like. You see that? Doesn't that look like brown sugar? And brown sugar by itself is not a health food. Raw brown sugar contains molasses, which I just told you has acrylamide. Acrylamide is not something you want to go out of your way to eat, right? That happens when you heat up carbohydrates. This is real sugar, right? Which looks nothing like your processed sugar, white sugar, or brown sugar. Caramelized anything is really not good for you. So if you're going to bake, you want to bake below 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That can reduce some of the levels of acrylamide. And the more you burn your food, the more acrylamide you're making. So I always tell my kids not to eat burnt food. They like to eat it because it's crispier. And this is actually a whole food, unlike brown sugar. In general, it's better to eat foods whole than it is to eat foods powdered and processed. So a whole date, of course, is better than this powdered date, but it's definitely better than brown sugar or date syrup. And when you eat processed foods, you eat more simply because it's dehydrated and it's powdered. You basically will eat more food in the dry weight than the hydrated version of the fresh counterpart. But if you're going to eat any of the foods with added sugar and added fat like an apple pie or a coconut cream pie, you then turn these metabolically healthy foods into unhealthy foods, because combining sugar and fat are the worst combinations of foods that you can eat if you want to get metabolically healthy. This is because eating more fat raises your blood sugars. It basically makes you more insulin resistant, and it also makes your body secrete more insulin because of it. And the higher the insulin, the more fat your body will store. And unfortunately, if it's a lot of saturated fat, it can be deposited into strange places like your pancreas, liver, or muscles. Those are the top 3 organs to help you get metabolically healthy and have normal blood sugars. So when you deposit fats in those organs, they don't work. This causes a rise in blood sugars. That means you're basically either pre-diabetic or diabetic. Unfortunately, people often confuse the symptom of high blood sugars with the cause of why the blood sugars are elevated. Cause is saturated fat. And if you don't get rid of the saturated fat, you remain insulin resistant. You just don't see it because you're not eating carbohydrates. And on the surface, this should seem like no big problem because you don't eat carbohydrates. However, you're probably trading one problem for another. People who eat low-carb diets, they tend to have a lower pH, meaning that their blood is more acidic. And they also have a higher C-peptide level. Chronically elevated C-peptide is associated with insulin resistance and an increased risk of cancer, including colon cancer. C-peptide is a byproduct of insulin production, which is released in equal amounts to insulin when the pancreas makes insulin. High insulin level promotes cell growth, including the growth of precancerous and cancerous cells. Individuals on long-term low-carb diets, especially ones high in animal protein and fat, they may have higher baseline C-peptide levels compared to those consuming a normal carbohydrate diet without prediabetes or diabetes. And this may be because protein also stimulates insulin secretion, especially leucine and arginine. And some research suggests that fat metabolism may alter insulin dynamics, affecting how C-peptide is processed and cleared from the bloodstream. In ketogenic diets where glucose intake is very low, insulin secretion is generally lower, but C-peptide may stay elevated longer because of metabolic shifts. And people on low-carb diets think that because they're lowering their blood sugar, they're lowering their insulin. And this is true compared to where they were at before. However, studies have shown that you may be increasing your mortality even though you have better blood sugars and lower insulin. And if you eat the wrong low-carb diet, you actually increase your risk of type 2 diabetes. Not all low-carb diets are the same. If you emphasize whole grains and eliminated refined flours and avoided animal products and focused on getting your proteins from plants, you actually can reduce your risk of diabetes. But if you eat the wrong low-carb diet and you focus your protein on animals, you actually make your diabetes worse, despite eating low-carb. Now, the problem with a bad low-carb diet is that people classify all carbohydrates into one group, and they end up avoiding foods that have polyphenols, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. Everything that I've described are longevity fruits. In fact, people who eat more fruit, even if they're diabetic, actually can improve their diabetes and they live longer over time. If eating fruit works in 500,000 people, then why wouldn't it work in you? Now, I know that everything that we just discussed is opposite of what people tell you online because they're focused on sugar, one macronutrient, and they lump table sugar with everything else. They're all the same carbohydrate, but that's not true. Not all carbohydrates are equal. And all the foods that I listed are rich in fiber and antioxidants, which your table sugar or processed food doesn't have. And if you want to take a deeper dive into taking charge of your blood sugars and reverse type 2 diabetes, then watch the next video.